The Easyboot LC, or Love Child, what is it and how did it come to be? So the Easyboot Love Child is really a mix of the Easyboot glue-on shell and the Easy Shoe Performance. And what you'll notice is that you marry these two products together and you have the Love Child. So what's unique about this product and what makes it different than the Easyboot glue-on shell is that it has an open back. It has two types of material. It has urethane and it has rubber. What the rubber insole allows this product to do is flex in the heels. You have vertical flexion and you also have horizontal flexion. This is very unique in the hoof boot industry. The Easyboot shell, obviously we're not going to have any horizontal flex. We have very little vertical flex. The Easy Shoe, you'll notice, has those same features, but the big difference is this has, the Love Child is completely enclosed. One of the things you can do on the Love Child is cut the rubber out if needed. You can leave the heel section in, cut the insole out if you wanted to open the sole. So the main differences are rubber, open back, and a couple other unique features is the Love Child has cut down lines. So if you want to limit the amount of glue on the hoof wall, you can cut it down. The other thing you can do is it's slightly elongated in the heel, and you can cut down heel length if needed. All right, now we're going to talk about installing the Love Child. I like to break the install into two phases. One is the prep and one is the gluing. So for prep, we need there's some tools that are critical to your success. First thing is rubber gloves. You have a lot of oils and dirt on your hands and you don't want to introduce those back into the hoof or the clean shell. Next is a wire brush and hoof pick. You'll want a rasp. You'll want a torch and a drill with a Buffy attachment. The other thing that's very, very handy is a pair of zip boots with a leather insert. These are going to keep all your work protected when you're done. All right, now we're going to show you the install. I like to keep the shell that I'm going to glue in plastic till the very end, and ideally you want to have a second shell for fitting or a fit kit. So the first thing I'm going to do is give this foot a light brush. He's been trimmed, and he actually just came out of the same product. So if you have to really make sure it's on, I can use my rasp sometimes. So what we're looking for here is we want a nice tight fit, we want enough heel length, and what you'll notice on here is that if we want to take any excess shell, this is the time to kind of view it. I like to leave it intact, but if we wanted to trim, we could mark that now with a pen. These holes are for glue to come out. I like my heel length, so I'm not going to do any cutting here. So I'm pretty happy here. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and pull this off. This is my shell for the next fitting. And now I'm going to go right into prep. So what we're going to do with prep is a couple things. First, I'm going to make sure my balance is good. He's already been trimmed. And then I'm going to, the most critical thing when gluing this product is our vertical walls. We really have no glue bond between the bottom of the hoof and the bottom of the shell. So our main prep work is on the vertical walls higher than your shell. So the first thing I'm going to do is just clean up the bottom really quick. Not doing much here because I already trimmed them. Wire brush. And the big difference between this and the Easy Shoe is all this is much less critical. We want it clean, we want it free of debris, but we're not going to be gluing to the solar surface at all. Next thing we're going to do is pull the foot out. And this is where you really have two options. There's some horses that don't like the buffy. It's usually very few, but if you don't have a buffy, the other product you can use is the side of your rasp. So what you're doing with the side of your rasp is you're both cleaning and you're creating a rough texture of peaks and valleys for the glue to adhere to. So that's one technique. If you have a buffy, this is the other technique. I always want to have the buffy go down, because what you're doing is you're taking material from the hoof and you're pushing it down. So you'll see the material come off. So really the same methods. This is easier. If your horse will tolerate it and you have this is a great product. One of the areas that's the most critical is heel. Make sure you get your heels well. And again, if you were doing that same step with the rasp, what you would do with the rasp is you would really come in here and make sure your heels are cleaned up well. All right, your next thing, we've cleaned the wall with either your buffy or rasp. I'm going to come back in with the torch. What we're doing with the torch is we're really taking out surface moisture only. I like to do, regardless of the climate or how wet the foot is, I like to go around 3 times. First time, and every time I come back with my wire brush. And what you're doing is you're just taking off any dust. We'll do it a second time. A lot of people think this is excessive. But if you get in a routine of doing it 3 times, regardless of where you are, regardless if it's dry, regardless if it's wet, you build a good routine and your results are always the same. That's 2. And usually by the second, third time, you'll see no dust coming off the foot. So one last thing I'm going to do here quick. I'm going to just give, although the bottom is not critical, I'm going to just make sure we're dry. I'm going to give it one wire brush. And at this point, we're clean. So what we don't want to do is set the foot down, let the horse, if you don't have concrete stalls, set it in dirt because you have to do it again. So ideally, if you have an Easyboot zip with a leather insert, you can slide this on, and what the leather insert does is take out any other moisture while the horse is standing and you're getting your glue materials together. Okay, our foot is still protected with the Easyboot zip. The first thing I'm going to do before I dive into gluing is I'm going to add Artemud to the sole. So Artemud is a really neat antimicrobial hoof clay from Red Horse. And so I'll do that first. I'll put the zip back on and then we'll start gluing. So take the cap off. Has a really nice scent to it. And what I'm trying to do here is just coat the frog area, get it in deep on both sides, light covering in the sole. This will just add a little bit of extra protection because this product can stay on a little longer. We've had really good success going up to 6 weeks. A nice covering here, and I'm trying not to add any to the vertical wall. You can see a little bit there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the zip back on. Now we can concentrate on our gluing supplies. This foot has been protected. There's Artemud in the sole. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Dim. I'm going to mix it up. And what you want to try to do with your Dim is you want to use enough to fill all the concavity in the foot. So I'm going to mix it up well. You want both colors to transition well together. And you have plenty of time with this, so we're not in a big hurry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this ready. I'm going to pack it in the sole. I'm going to put the boot back on, and we're going to start our gluing procedure. One of the things that you want to do, a lot of people tend to use, in my opinion, a dim that is too firm. The challenge with a dim that's too firm is you don't allow the foot to load, and you're going to have the sore-footed horse with time. So I prefer the softest dim that you can find, and that'll prevent that. Using too hard of a dim is going to cause problems. So we're mixed up. I'll set this back down here and go back into our, and again, I have a bunch of material from the dim. We got to be very careful we don't touch the outside of the hoof wall with my hands. So our artemut is inside. I'm adding my dim, compressing it, and we don't want to do too much. All right, our dim has been added, and if we're going to err here, don't add too much, go too little. And so what we're doing here is, once this is done, if you're going to use this method, the best thing is to have a gluing partner. At this time, your gluing partner can hold the hoof while you prepare the glue. The other option is to use plastic. Plastic can go back inside the boot, and it won't stick to your Easyboot zip. All right, our next step is gluing. And a lot of people get intimidated by this step, but if you take your time and practice a little bit, it's actually pretty easy. So we got our glue tips. We have VetTech Adhere, which is my preferred product for the Easyboot Love Child. And I have a mallet so I can make sure that the shell is all the way on, and a pair of nippers that I'm going to cut the tip with. So the first thing we want to do is we want to cut the tip, and we want to do that perpendicular to the tube. Next thing we want to do always is, you'll see a little air bubble here. We're going to purge some material. Next thing we're going to do is put a tip on. After we put the tip on, we want to make sure we don't put any pressure on the gun. And now we want to get our product out that's hopefully still in the bag. It's important that this product stays in the bag, doesn't go in your truck or car or tack room and get dusty. If you add dust inside, you're going to glue to it, you're not going to have good results because you're gluing to dust and not the urethane shell. So we're out. The next thing we're going to do, the other nice thing about this product is we can slide it on this way to the hoof, and you're not taking glue and pushing it down. If you push a bunch of glue down, what happens is that glue gets underneath the sole sometimes and can create pressure. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to purge a little bit of material at the first inch. And now we're going to start gluing. So I'm using an electric glue gun, and what you can see here is I'm doing probably the top 3/4 of the shell. I'm leaving a little bit of room between the bottom, and I'm pushing it out, and I'm using the side of the tip to spread the glue. So I'm on each side, I'm all the way around, and now I'm going to set this down. I'm going to pick up the foot, and again, we don't want to touch any vertical walls. I'm going to take my shell, and I'm going to slide it on from the front. And if you have a mallet, you can take your mallet, just make sure you're seated. I'm going to make sure I'm straight. Then I'm going to set down the foot. Next thing I'm going to do is, if you're fast enough, you can use the same tip. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm just adding a bead to the top of the shell all the way around. This is mainly cosmetic, but what this does is it allows you to finish it up really well later with the buffy. So I'm going to go around both sides. and all the way to the heel. Back to the heel is important. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger, I'm just going to make sure this is spread nicely. This helps on your cleanup, and you're taking less away with your buffy. If you want to add a pour-in packing, you can do that after your glue is set and before the last cleanup. So EquiPack Soft is a great product. I love using this product. It sets up quickly and it goes, it's easy to put it all the way underneath the foot. So at this point, you can come in and get your tip down in between. The rubber's flexible, so you can really kind of push and get this where you need to go. At this point, you're just going to add your material, and you'll add it to where it's starting to come out the back here. The nice thing is once you get done, you can pull this out, and I'll hold up the foot. You'll see it come out a little out the back, and before it sets, I always like to have the hoof go weight bearing. You don't want it to set in a non-weight bearing phase. Set it down, and away you go. All right, our last step is cleanup. This is cosmetic only. You really don't need to do this. It's to make everything look good. So this lip is on here. You can go ride. This last step, like I said, cosmetic only. So you can use a rasp, but the preferred tool is the buffy. So get your foot out of the stand. And really what we're doing here, like I said, is just a cosmetic cleanup. And we're just blending the cuff, the glue, and the wall. So ideally when we're done, we want to be able to run our fingers from hoof wall to glue to shell and not really feel a big transition. So we've got a nice, looks cleaner. The last thing we can do, if needed, the great thing about boots is, or glue-on products, is when we're done, if we want to come back in and change our breakover in any way, simply take your rasp. You can add a more aggressive breakover if needed. If you want to roll even the outsides. And the other great thing about this product, anytime during your cycle, let's just say you think your horse is getting a little out of balance, rather than remove them, we can come in and trim our sole down of the boot.